All right, it's go time. Why Nobody Wants to Work Anymore by Damon Cassidy. Should say the real reason nobody wants to work anymore. This guy usually does not miss, does good videos. Before we started out, this comment was great. Got 1,100 likes. So he goes, there's a shortage of highly educated, highly experienced workers willing to work for poverty wages. Classic. We're going to blow this one up, man. We're going to get deep and we just might learn something. This guy usually does not miss.
According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, there are 8.1 million jobs available throughout the United States, fueling headlines of a national labor shortage. And yet it takes an average of 6 to 8 months just to land a job, with 62% of Americans now living paycheck to paycheck, raising the question, why does society insist that no one wants to work anymore? While the concept of work has taken many forms throughout history, predominantly centered on seasonal agriculture, it fundamentally changed with the introduction of the Industrial Revolution, where community-driven, task-oriented workdays, largely consisting of only 4 to 6 months out of the year, were now replaced by relentless year-round factory schedules, demanding 12 to 16 hours a day from people of all ages, shifting authority from the family setting into centralized factories that introduced rigid hierarchies, tying productivity to physical presence, and stripping workers of autonomy while forcing them into grueling conditions.
Okay, we could all agree that nobody wants to be doing this shit right here. Factory work. You can imagine that? 12-hour days. Just hi ho, it's off to work we go. Ding, 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 ding. Nah, nah. And let's just get one thing clear. They said 8 million jobs are available. I'm willing to bet most of those jobs are absolute shit. Anyways, just to clear the record on that. Just saying. Even people hopping over the fence from Mexico, they're like, nah, I'm good. Like, I'm not working that shit job.
Workers of autonomy while forcing them into grueling conditions, ultimately leading workers to organize and create the first national labor union under the slogan 8 hours for work, 8 hours for rest, and 8 hours for what you will, which
That's a good slogan. Did you guys see that? Hold on. You imagine seeing billboards of that all over the town? That's like that's perfect brainwashing at its finest. And it does. And that system, people were happy with that system for a long time. But that system's been kind of flip-flopped over. Now it's like 2 jobs, 10 hours, 12 hours a day, no time for hobbies. You could forget about skateboarding, okay? If there's any skateboarding going on in this video here. You could forget about fun. Sex. No, dude. No. But that did work for a long time, just to be fair. That's just crazy. Imagine just seeing billboards like that. Modern day billboards, though, you know. Work every day, you're fucked.
hours for what you will, which prompted President Ulysses S. Grant to sign an executive order in 1869, establishing an 8-hour workday for federal employees, laying the initial foundation that would eventually become the modern work week. Meanwhile, conditions in the private sector continued to worsen. By the end of the late 19th century, manufacturing employees worked an average of 100 hours a week, with some industries demanding even more. The dangerous and monotonous nature of factory work left many workers dissatisfied, causing high turnover rates that disrupted production and created significant challenges for employers.
All right, let's just be real with each other here. Thank God. I'm pretty sure most jobs is not like grueling in a factory, at least not in America. There are plenty of you out there doing this kind of work, I'm sure. But let's be honest here. It's a little bit better nowadays, except for the fact that, your work doesn't really pay much.
It was in this environment that Henry Ford in 1914 addressed an exceptionally high turnover rate of 370% by implementing a strategy of raising wages to $5 per day, more than double the industry standard, while introducing a standardized 40-hour work week, as Ford believed that shorter hours would lead to greater efficiency, as well-rested workers would be more focused and motivated, while higher wages would allow employees to afford the very cars they built. fostering loyalty and satisfaction among his workforce. And although many critics mocked Ford, predicting his decision would bankrupt the company, the day after the announcement, 10,000 workers lined up for the chance to work at Ford, willing to...
Do you imagine that? It's kind of genius if you think about it. It's like, dude, we'll pay them enough. They'll be happy. They'll only work 8 hours a day. And then, once they make enough money, they'll come buy the said product we just had them build. Keep it in the family, man. No, that's genius. That is. And if you really, really, really break it down, the 40-hour work week, people were happy with that for a long time. Nearly a century, actually. It's only now where it's like the 9 to 5's kind of shamed on. People are snapping out of it. We've been indoctrinated by the school system to be slaves. You've heard it before. It's kind. I mean, I get it. I'm sitting here making fucking YouTube videos. I'm still a slave to Google, my master. All hail Google. Thank you, Google, if you're watching this. I really appreciate the paycheck, and I will show up to work every day. But I'm just saying, at least I'm not in a fucking factory. But like, it's all good. Things change. We adapt. I get it.
Overlook the monotony of assembly line tasks for the improved pay and working conditions, stabilizing Ford's workforce, and not only introducing the middle class, but setting the stage for FDR's the Fair Labor Standards Act in 1938, which officially established the 40-hour work week in the United States and ensured shorter hours, overtime pay, and minimum wage protections for workers nationwide. While this period unquestionably brought transformative changes that greatly improved working conditions and established critical labor protections,
like the child labor laws, dude. Are you fucking kidding me? Look at all these kids. That's nuts. I don't think Nike got the memo. You could still go out there and anyways, I'm not going to go that deep.
It also introduced deep structural issues that a booming post-war economy managed to obscure. By the late 19th century, as industrialization continued to reshape society, alongside growing resistance from the working class, John D. Rockefeller established the General Education Board to address the increasing demand for a disciplined and compliant workforce to meet the needs of factory production. Rockefeller's efforts focused on creating educational systems designed not to foster individual creativity, but to train workers for industrial environments. His advisor and co-founder of the GEB...
There it is, the school thing. Shit, I figured he would have brought it up. Just, it's classic, man, wild times.
Frederick Taylor Gates expressed this by stating, "We shall not try to make these people or any of their children into philosophers, or men of learning, or men of science. The task we set before ourselves is very simple as well as a very beautiful one. To train these people as we find them to a perfectly ideal life, just where they are, whereby prioritizing productivity and..."
Damn, that was deep. That's crazy. And think about it this way, too. Like, if you wanted to go higher, now you got to pay for it. College. Although college isn't necessarily even worth it nowadays. But at one point in time, it was like, oh, no, you want to become higher level, you got to go back to school. Yeah. This first round was just to get you trained, get you prepped for the steel mill. Dude, this is nuts shit, man. This guy put together a really good video here.
Obedience over autonomy, these efforts reinforced industrial hierarchies and laid the ideological foundation for a labor market defined by control, delaying the recognition of systemic problems that would inevitably resurface.
How was my working life at Ford? I've never been to hell, but heard a lot about it. It was like working in hell. The harassment,
Jesus.
the threats, the working conditions, and the continued watching over you by what they had called at that time starmen.
Where over time, these unresolved issues have become increasingly visible, leaving a labor market constrained by outdated structures and a workforce that feels increasingly disconnected and under.
Wait, what did that say?
Hold on. Increasingly disconnected structures.
This one goes, 45 million workers will lose their jobs due to advancements in technology by 2030. Well, that's reassuring. That's awesome.
And a workforce that feels increasingly disconnected and undervalued, specifically when it comes to the utter disaster that is applying for a job. Unlike previous generations, who predominantly secured jobs by applying in person to help wanted ads, the introduction of technology and global competition has fundamentally reshaped how people find work. Today, 98.8% of Fortune 500 companies rely on application tracking systems, or ATS, to filter and sort resumes through automated criteria before a human ever reviews them, where up to 75% of resumes are rejected automatically, often for minor deviations such as employment gaps, unconventional formatting, or missing keywords, where these inefficiencies are compounded by...
No, dude. Are you kidding me? Could you imagine going home, your parents or like your wife or something, and they go, "Did you get the job?" He goes, "No, I missed the keywords. I didn't miss the keywords." She goes, "Don't give me that shit. Your grandfather shook a hand real well." I don't mean it like that. I'm not saying they had it better back then. I mean, I wouldn't want to work in a fucking factory like that. That's gnarly. But like, why didn't you get the job? The SEO was off. I'm not trained for the... Wow, dude. I haven't even had to apply for a job in so long that I can't even imagine going through that. Let's hear them out real quick, but that's crazy.
By a complete breakdown of traditional hiring practices. Historically, hiring managers worked closely with seasoned recruiters to craft accurate job postings that reflected the true requirements of a role. Today, this process has shifted to HR departments, where 40% of US companies now outsource most, if not all, of their hiring processes to recruitment process outsourcers, or RPOs, who often rely on subcontractors. These subcontractors, in turn...
This is just like made up jobs, if you really think about it. Think of how many jobs are just bullshit. Like, for real. How many? I'd love to know. Like, I'm serious. Could you imagine? Let me go through some comments real fast before we can. This is a great video, by the way. Love the SpongeBob. But I've never once... Okay, I got one job online. TGI Fridays, 2014. Bartender. And that's back when it, like, worked, you know? That was, like... I couldn't believe it actually worked. Because I never applied online for a job before. But since then, not one job I've applied to online. It's always been, I called somebody, I knew somebody... That's it. Or I'm doing my own thing, or I'm working for Google here doing YouTube. This is what it's like, though. This is crazy. This guy goes, who wants to run a race where the finish line keeps moving? Yeah, it's like basically you work forever. Why bother? Most of these moronic companies start trying to get rid of you as soon as you start. That's another thing too, man. Like my past 2 jobs, I was constantly on the worry about like, fuck, you know, are they going to keep me around? I might have shifts next week. I hated that shit. 8 million jobs. I don't buy it for a second. When half the job posting online are ghost jobs, 40% want unicorns for peasant pay. Yeah, that's another one too. Like, no one wants to work for peanuts anymore. Yeah, it's crazy, dude. And then you got to go fucking do this online shit. Hell no, dude. You're out of your mind. You got to apply online. That's I'd be the old school kind of boomer guy. I'm still walking in with a fucking resume. God, like just look at this jamoke coming in here. That's my style, though.
Use AI tools to draft job postings and screen candidates, with 40% of companies now using AI for initial interactions and preliminary evaluations, where as a result, job seekers must first pass through the ATS software, then be screened by AI tools, and undergo initial interviews with third-party recruiters who often have very little understanding of the company's needs. If they then advance, they face a...
Dude, I hate to keep pausing this, but I would be so fucked. Honestly, I would. Because all my jobs I've got is because they liked me. They like my personality. You think I'm going to be able to sell my personality to a robot? I don't know, dude. You got to be real. Got to be keyword. Your keywords got to be on point, man. You got to be on point. It's just, this guy made a good video here.
HR screenings before finally meeting the hiring manager, assuming that the company is actually hiring for the role, resulting in a process that takes an average of 27.5 days per role, with only about a third of US companies actually monitoring whether their hiring practices led to good employees, where this chaotic nature of the system is exemplified by one particularly ironic example. When Sebastian Ramirez spotted a job posting that required 4+ years of fast API, however, Ramirez couldn't apply for this role since he only had 1.5 years of experience, because he was the actual creator of Fast API. And this kind of misalignment between job postings and reality not only alienates qualified candidates, but also illustrates how far the hiring process has veered from its original purpose, leaving thousands of unemployed or underemployed workers to become completely discouraged with the labor market, if not potentially leaving the workforce altogether, just because of the difficulties in applying for a job. And we haven't even mentioned ghost jobs. According to
Ghost jobs, dude. To be fair, I'm sure there are plenty of kind of blue collar jobs. I'm including restaurant work because that's what I did, kind of grunt work, where you could still go in and kind of like walk in there and possibly get hired on the spot. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are kind of like me where, I'm going to have to talk to you first. Like, I'm not just looking at people's fucking resumes here. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm going to work with somebody, I also have to like the person. So that's a big thing. It's just crazy to think you have to get through the AI robot, That's just fucking nuts. Ghost jobs. That's the best. All right, back to the party.
Workforce analytics firm, Revelio Labs, an online job listing in 2024 is only half as likely to result in a hire as it was in 2020, signaling the explosive growth of ghost jobs as a corporate strategy, where in a survey conducted by Clarify Capital, 50% of hiring managers admitted to creating ghost jobs to maintain a talent pool for future needs, while 70% reported keeping job postings open for over 6 months. This illusion is further perpetuated by AI-generated recruiters.
No, AI-generated recruiters. No way. Just so many fake profiles. That's awesome. Now you got a fake boss, too, while you're at it.
On LinkedIn, which engage candidates with fabricated resumes and work histories under false pretenses, where a study by the Stanford Internet Observatory uncovered 1,000 fake profiles tied to more than 70 companies, inundating job seekers with misleading outreach. Resume Genius estimates that LinkedIn alone may host as many as 1.7 million ghost job postings in the United States alone. Meanwhile, Standout CV reports that over a third of job postings in the UK remain active for more than 30 days without any hiring intent, highlighting the global scale of this issue. Where ghost jobs also serve another potential avenue to rake profits, as American journalist Bob Sullivan highlights that Equifax, with the help of thousands of HR departments across the country, has built one of the most powerful private databases of Americans' personal information. Weekly contributions from 75% of Fortune 500 companies and 85% of federal agencies include data such as social security numbers, birth dates, salary histories, and healthcare coverage, while simultaneously recruiting costs remain entirely tax deductible under federal acquisition regulation 31.205-34, as long as a listing meets the technical requirements of a legitimate job posting, which
Yo, this dude did his homework. Shout out to this guy.
is almost impossible to prove against, which creates billions of dollars of incentives for companies to perpetuate ghost jobs, conduct superficial interviews, and fabricate listings indefinitely, creating a cycle that not only alienates job seekers, but also leaves thousands of unemployed or underemployed individuals disillusioned with a system that feels rigged against them. Leading me to my final point. Similar to the workers leaving Ford as a result of the monotonous and soul-sucking work of the assembly line, today's workers face a similarly challenging reality. During Ford's era, wages of $5 per day provided workers with a transformative lifestyle upgrade, enabling them to afford homes and cars and financial stability of the middle class that in many ways justified the toll of their labor. Unfortunately, today, the economic landscape has shifted dramatically, where between 1979 and 2024, productivity has surged by over 80%, yet wages increased by only 29.4%, leaving inflation-adjusted wages growing at a mere 0.2% annually, a substantial contrast from the 1950s, where a minimum wage worker could cover a month's rent with less than a week and a half of full-time work. And by 1956, with the federal minimum wage reaching $1 per hour, equivalent to $11.77 today, it provided enough income to support a two-person household above the poverty line. Today,
Wow, dude, that was some that. You know, you hear people go like, minimum wage was never meant for you to be able to afford to live. It's like, apparently it was. That's the funniest part. Wow. Dude, this is not cool.
today, nearly 1 in 10 U.S. homes were valued at $1 million or more than double the share in 2019. Where meanwhile, the median home price has reached $420,000, where even the cost of college, which traditionally offered career advancement, climbed from $394 in 1970 to $10,560 in 2020, where every single year, we all realize that our purchasing power is ultimately less than the year prior, where since the 1970s, the dollar has lost about 95% of its value, making the bare necessities feel completely out of reach for many. And as we begin to conclude, for me to give a topic like this justice, I believe that we have to look at the question, why does nobody want to work anymore?
Oh my God, I still got about 12 minutes left in this video. You guys go check the rest of it out. I'll leave it down below, but I think it's safe to say that ending part there kind of summed it up. And let's be realistic here. A lot of this is kind of just talk. I mean, you're gonna need money. I mean, how many people are cool with just being homeless? Not that many. Even if you just lived in your car, did the van life, you're going to need an income. I do understand why people don't want to do the bullshit, but most people are going to take the jobs. The ones that can't get fulfilled, they're just paying they're got to be paying absolutely nothing. Like, people are going to take the $15 an hour jobs. They're just going to. And I do get it. Like, at one point in time, working in a cubicle, people were happy with it because they were getting paid enough. Like, if I were to offer you $150,000 a year to be at a cubicle doing menial desk work, I'm willing to bet there'd be a fucking line of people going around the door for that job. But for $40,000 a year, people are like, why bother? I mean, think about the tradespeople, dude. That's the worst. $25 an hour? Back-breaking work? Yeah, dude, not a lot of people are going to want to sign up for that shit. I mean, I get it, but let's not bullshit each other here. People are going to work. They're just going to be finding different avenues. You know, it's like if I could make no money doing a real job, then I could easily go make just as little of shit pay doing some other weird side hustle. Like Uber Eats or some, dude, I bartended. I can't tell you how many bartenders, college degrees, and they're making more than they would at their job. So why would they go work the regular job? Like I was bartending making more than my friend who is a full-blown electrician. That's criminal. It doesn't make sense. All while working less. I'm not saying everybody's going to be able to do that, just like not everybody's going to be able to be a content creator, right? But that's where people's mindsets are shifting. And I get it. Let's finish this out with some comments here. No one wants to work for peanuts. We're in a society of extreme corporate greed. Yeah, nobody wants to work anymore. He goes, no, it's that nobody wants to pay anymore. Exactly, man. I'm telling you right now, I fucking hate office work, but if the money was right, motherfuckers be lining up. Why do you think people stayed at jobs for 30 years, 40 years? Because the pay made sense. That's kind of where it's at. Companies want free labor and all profits. High stress, high demand, high labor. In exchange, the worker gets absolute bare minimum. Yeah. Anyways, shout out to Damon Cassidy. I'll leave his information below. Still got another 10 minutes in that video, but I mean, I get it, but in reality, people are going to have to do something. Not everybody just. I don't know how people are just not working. I don't get it. I mean, I've covered the thing with the food stamps and people on welfare and all that, but people are going to take these shit jobs. That's the unfortunate part about it. And there's going to be a lot more people trying to do what I'm doing here. A lot more people trying to do their own thing, which is great. I think you should. I think about what I'm going to have to do down the road. I go, oh man, in 5 years, I might have to do something totally different. Unless I figure out how to just get rich and make the money work for me. But I don't think it's that easy. I've been trying. Anyway, solid talk. Shout out to Damon Cassidy. I'll leave his info below. Good time. Good talk. You guys leave your thoughts. Unreal.